In 2010, two adventurers went deep underground. But it wasn't just minerals they uncovered, it was love. Yes, really, we got engaged in an abandoned mine. A few months later, we were married, and our journey as partners, both in life and in mining, began. We started with Mojave Underground, exploring abandoned mines and sharing their stories. Then, in 2010, we founded Burgex, where we dove headfirst into mineral exploration, mining consulting, and learning a lot. We've worn many hats, from managing mineral rights to being mining historians, business owners, and even managing relationships. After life took us in different directions, we've kept working together, growing, learning, and navigating this wild world of mining and exploration. Now we're sharing our story and the stories of mining, mineral exploration, and entrepreneurship with you. Welcome to Mine Explorers. Crystal, welcome to my show.
Stuart, welcome to my show.
It's my show.
Too bad. We're sharing a show.
We're sharing a show. Welcome to Mine Explorers. Apologies in advance. The first episode might be a little rough. New setup, new speakers, microphones, lights, cameras.
I would skip that whole thing. No, nobody cares. Literally.
Nope, leaving it in.
Really?
Now everybody knows. Yep. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about why we're doing this show.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So, a little bit of a backstory. Crystal came to me about a month ago, and she said, hey, I feel like you're really missing an opportunity to share your experience with the world by writing more, being more involved on LinkedIn, doing things like that.
Yes.
And, you know, imposter syndrome or whatever, I thought, I don't think we really have interesting experiences to share. But the more I thought about it and started getting a little more active and posting and doing some interviews and things here and there, I realized, you know what, I think we've got enough to really kind of put together something interesting, especially with our unique perspective as ex-spouses turned business partners. I think there's a lot of interesting wrinkles and stuff there.
It's a unique perspective that when you tell people, they don't quite understand, but they're intrigued. So I think this gives us the opportunity to really share our story and how we make it work.
Yeah, and weave in a little bit of adventure, some tales of abandoned mine exploration, crazy clients, near-death experiences, and, you know, navigating building a business as two people who really knew nothing about business 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know a little bit more now.
A little bit, and we still have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. Really, I'm glad you've tuned in, and I think over time, I hope we get a lot of value out of this for everybody, and it turns out good. So what you can expect from the show, I've kind of had to twist Crystal's arm here a little bit to get her interested and involved.
She's per usual.
The busy CEO of Burgex running the show. So there's a lot going on there. But, you know, I'd like to do weekly episodes, and we're going to explore mining, entrepreneurship, industry challenges, what we're seeing, being, you know, largely exposed to grassroots aspects of mineral exploration, mining, and construction aggregates, and then lessons from history. I love mining history. I like to find ways to weave that in as much as possible. You know, and hopefully a little bit of humor and fun along the way. You know, we have a lot of interesting stories, and, you know, we've worked with a lot of cool people. So I'd like to start out today. Let's talk a little bit about the state of mining today. You know, what's exciting? What's going on in mineral exploration? What are some of the challenges? Go ahead.
The state of mining in general.
Yep,
so
today.
We work a lot on the junior mining side, and we follow the trends. Our clients follow the trends, which means we know what's up and coming. So in 2023, we saw a huge influx of junior miners who are all about lithium. It was an insane lithium year. That's pretty much all we did all year. We were staking claims, we were doing sampling programs all over the West. And in 2024, that just hit a wall and they all disappeared. They cannot raise money for the life of them for lithium. Nobody cares about lithium. It got too hot too fast, and now they're just gone. And that happens quite often in the mining industry, so it's really important for us to always be keeping up on the trends. Right now we're seeing a trend or a spike up in uranium, which is really interesting.
Yep.
It's becoming more popular. especially as we talk about renewable energies and nuclear power and things of that nature, uranium is coming back into the conversation, which I think is quite interesting because we do have a lot of uranium deposits here in Utah. So, and we have active uranium mines as well, which is great. So yeah, so we're seeing trends upward there. I don't know what else.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I saw a lot in lithium, and I just got back from AME Roundup, the Association for Mineral Exploration up in Vancouver, the big Roundup show. I also stopped by the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference, VRIC, and the amount of lithium explorers has decreased tenfold. There used to be dozens, and now there's one or two. But as with most things, when they get really hot, a lot of people pile in. There's a lot of projects that may or may not warrant further work. And then a lot of those weak hands have shaken out. Now I think what we're left with is quality projects, quality teams. In the junior exploration space in general, we're seeing, I heard it put really well at AME. Most of the junior mining companies are based in Vancouver. The Canadian ones, obviously there's a big contingent in Australia, but they're lined up along a few different streets. Howe Street is one of them. And I heard said about VRIC this year, the worst part of Howe Street didn't show up. They're not getting the funding. They've moved on to other things. A lot of the promoters who are just promoting, they're not, they don't have a track record. They don't have quality projects. And so what's left is a lot of higher quality.
That's an interesting perspective because you're right. We have, like, especially when we started Burgex, even 5 years ago when we were working with the junior miners, we saw a ton of promoters. And now as we've progressed in our business, it's just kind of gone down and down and down. And now what we're seeing is, instead of the junior miners who just pop up overnight, is we're seeing actually the major mining companies who are taking the exploration risk and then essentially turning themselves into junior exploration companies.
Yeah, either through partnerships, strategic partnerships. BHP Explorer is a good example.
Yeah.
Where they're investing in juniors on strategic projects. But really what I'm seeing over and over again is they're investing in teams more than projects. In fact, in some areas, they're drawing a box and saying, we're going to do exploration in this area, and we're going to partner with this team. So they're not even necessarily investing in existing projects. They're investing in a team they know can deliver on future projects. And I think it's a brilliant business model. And, I think the suffering for a lot of the juniors is nearing an end. I think we'll see a turnaround, depending on the commodity, anytime in the next 5 years, probably. But I think you will see the promoters come back when things get hot again. They're just kind of waiting on the sideline. A lot of them have wandered into crypto, and there was a huge turnover into cannabis for a while. There was a time when you couldn't get a shell in Canada because they all went to cannabis.
Yep.
And that's kind of come back around, better teams.
Yeah, I still don't think it will be as hot as it was before. I think those days are over. I think we're turning into a new era of mineral exploration that's a lot more strategic, because as we've seen time and time again, mining, it just gets expensive. Exploration's expensive, and I think people are tired of taking that high risk.
Yeah, I mean, new era, I think it's definitely possible. Couldn't talk about a new era without talking about the inauguration and how that could affect things. I was in Canada last week, and being an American in Canada and exhibiting and presenting at the conference, there were a lot of people who came up and asked, what are the implications of tariffs and all this stuff? And what I see is really kind of threefold. So permitting, federal things that are log jammed. I think some of those are going to start to break free. The ones that aren't tied up in a lot of litigation and stuff really won't be affected. But I think federal projects will be easier. There's a lot of projects in the West on federal land. Yep. State and private will largely be the same. Local regulations aren't going to change. Probably and then once again, things tied up in litigation, there's not much that can be done about that. But I think overall the sentiment of investing in US-based projects is going to improve Even just at face value, I think people are feeling a lot more comfortable starting bigger projects here, investing more capital. So that's good. As far as the tariffs and stuff, I mean, time will tell. We'll see how this video ages. But I think largely it's saber rattling, and I think it's not likely to affect the mining industry much. Maybe there's some specific commodities and things I'm not thinking about that might be affected more.
Yeah.
But overall, generally, I don't see a lot happening. And a lot of that's going to determine, who takes the lead in Canada once Trudeau's out and somebody else comes in to replace him. I think who that person is going to largely determine what happens on this side of the border as well.
Right. No, I completely agree with that. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I don't think it's going to be worse. You can't get any worse than that than the last 4.
Yeah, it's been rough. Outside of pockets of exuberance and enthusiasm like lithium and things like that.
Yeah.
It's been tough. Gold projects nobody's cared about for a long time. I personally know of several great projects that are just available to be staked that have a lot of data. There's some models out there that can be developed, and they're really just sitting. And so, I think we're turning a new leaf. It's a new year. Let's see what happens. So talking about a new year, shifting gears, because I really want to focus on mining history in this show as well.
Okay.
So I'd like to touch on that a little bit today. Mining history, why does it still matter, and how does it inspire you?
Mining history, it always matters. Utah became a state because of mining. So we're here because people came to the West you've heard about the 49ers, right? Most people have heard about the 49ers traveling across the West to go find the gold in California. And along the way, they found other mineral deposits throughout, Nevada and Utah, Colorado, everywhere.
Right.
So mining history is the reason why we're established here, specifically in Utah. And it's something that we should acknowledge more often. There's a lot we can learn from mining history. We're learning now with all the environmental studies, there's a lot of bad things that we did with mining in the past that we know that we should never do that again, especially as we're in a first world country where we have the technology and the resources to mine better. We need to remember how poorly we did it so we make sure we don't make those same mistakes again.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. The West has gone through so many different transformations that mining is still very much associated with the Old West. Mm-hmm. There's very few Old Western movies that don't feature a mine or a prospector in one way or another.
Usually involving a shootout, but that's okay.
Yeah. Now when you think of California, you think of Hollywood, tech.
Yeah, Silicon Valley, all that.
And all that stuff. Nevada, huge mining state. We had Virginia City, the Comstock lode. Tons of mining technology was invented there. Mm-hmm. And now you think of Nevada, you think of casinos, you think of Tahoe. So it's interesting. Yeah, return to the roots. So the people of mining, the human side of mining, what kind of people are attracted to mining?
Attracted to work into mining?
Just, particularly, let's focus. We're entrepreneurs.
Okay.
What has historically and now attracts entrepreneurs to mining?
Just people who, from what I've seen, I guess my perspective of what I've seen, people who get attracted to mining, people who care about the earth, honestly. Really? Yeah.
Not an answer I expected at all.
Well, think about it this way. So we're a small company. We have lots of people out in the field. I got probably 10 to, a half or probably a dozen field techs out in the field. When we interview them, the biggest thing that they all say the same thing is that they love being outside, they love the outdoors, and they love the environment.
Interesting.
If you truly care about the earth and its resources, the best thing you can do is to work in an industry where you have a say in how those resources are taken.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you want to protect the forests, learn about forestry.
Right.
You want to protect the rivers and the environment, learn about the mining industry, learn about the chemicals
Learn
industry,
about biology. Yeah,
learn how to make things safer,
and
cleaner.
the amazing thing with the mining industry is there are so many different facets of jobs, of opportunities to learn about the environment that you really can pick any field and be a part of that conversation.
Yeah, and there's such a diversity in the roles.
Yes.
So, I mean, chemical engineers, metallurgists, geologists, geophysicists, and then, landmen, all the field techs who get out, geology in all of its forms.
Yeah.
And then on the backside too, like, even in HR and things like that, you're managing a different set of people, a different skill set than your typical office workers. It's an interesting industry. So
it's a very dynamic industry, I would say. You kind of get all walks of life within it. You have the blue collar workers who are out in the field working, getting dirty, all that, the true laborers, right? And then you have, the high end CEOs who are, leading discussions and like changing the industry, and, the real shakers.
Are you a high end CEO?
No, but I'm on my way.
There you go. I like that. So you're the CEO of Burgex now, and I've stepped back to a chairman role really a few years ago, and now I'm kind of getting back involved. I see a shift in the industry. I see opportunities that I think we can take advantage of, and really just always looking for ways to serve our clients better.
Absolutely.
And so that's something I've kind of got into. Really focusing on being more involved in it, and creating the show is really kind of part of that, to share our knowledge and value with other people, clients or not. But backing up a little bit, how did we build Burgex?
Is this a pop quiz?
It's kind of a pop quiz. I think I've told this story so many times. I don't think I've ever heard you tell it.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, Burgex is it's a very unconventional way to start a business, and honestly, I would not recommend it. We were big into abandoned mine exploration at the time, back in, the early 2000s, if you want to go back that far. And we had a nonprofit called Mojave Underground, where we would just share our love for mining history and exploration, and we would take big old groups into abandoned mines safely. We would emphasize safely and teach them about the history, the workings, why mining's important, all that fun stuff. And then eventually we were persuaded by a very eccentric entrepreneur who said, you should do this for a job. That's an understatement.
Most interesting entrepreneur I know.
Yeah, by far.
I know a lot. Yeah.
And he persuaded us, like, hey, you guys are doing this. You love what you do. You should make a business out of it. And, being young and not having any responsibilities. Well, we had a mortgage and we had cats. So that was like the biggest responsibilities we had. We decided, why the hell not? Let's give it a go. So we started our own business doing abandoned mine exploration. And as you can imagine, the demand for that is not high. So
yes.
We lived on, beans and noodles for a long time. And that was okay. That was okay. We slowly build up our skill set. We put an ad in. I remember this call. We put an ad in the ICMJ, the
International California Mining Journal.
Yeah, yes. Which unfortunately has recently shut its doors.
Potentially, I think it might actually be all right.
Okay, well that's another story.
I think they might be able to keep it.
Anyway,
going.
We put an ad in. It was like $50 for like 6 months or something. It was really cheap. And we just thought, okay, we'll put in an ad for, underground mining services, like super broad. Get a call from a guy who says, hey, I saw your ad in the ICMJ. I want you to come down to Arizona and stake some mining claims.
In July.
And we're like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm willing to learn. And he's like, you know what? That's okay. Come down here and we'll teach you. That's crazy. How many clients, given the circumstances of the work, I can totally see that he was just willing to take anybody.
I think his words were, when we arrived, You guys are crazy enough to go explore abandoned mines and rappel into abandoned mine shafts that are eroding, and there's
the ant
timbers hanging
traps
down and rocks,
just
and
yeah.
you guys are willing to do that. Staking claims in the desert in the middle of the summer will probably not be too dangerous for you.
Yeah, we're willing to take the risk.
Yep.
And he was right. We did. We drove down to Arizona in July and we staked mining claims in 110-degree heat.
I think it crept up to 115.
It was awful. It was awful. We certainly earned our stripes. And then we
learned how to stake mining claims.
We learned how to stake mining claims.
Way.
And then we went back again several times in the heat, and we did it better and better each time, and we learned. And then that's honestly like the segue into the mineral exploration section of our business.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely in future episodes, we'll kind of focus more on the different phases of the business and things we went through. Because I know we have so many stories about the abandoned mine stuff and so many stories about our early staking projects and things we've learned.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be interesting to go through. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to hear you tell it because, you know, you focus on different aspects and stuff of it than I do. And it's pretty interesting to
Well, we each played such a
back.
different role in the early days of our business that it's like, from my perspective, I was just trying to keep the logistics there, right? Making sure that we could do stuff, and then you were out hunting.
We wore a lot of hats. What were your last 5 hats?
That I don't wear anymore, or that
including what you currently wear, yeah.
Wear less. So I do the CEO role. I do marketing. Those are my big 2.
Current roles.
Yeah, current roles. And then past is I was the COO for a minute. That was pretty fun. Did Landman. Before Landman, I was Grunt.
Bookkeeper.
Oh, yeah. And of course, yeah. Managing books, corporate finances, all that fun paperwork. Wrote NOLs for a minute. You know, I pretty much touched. Oh, and I did lots of sieve sampling as well. So I was, did a little bit of a lab tech.
Chief lab operator.
Lab tech, soil samplers. We did the MMI sampling programs,
Yep.
So we were part-time geologists. So the only aspect of the business that I haven't touched is our consulting department.
Aside from supervising it now.
Aside from supervising and leading into the direction where we want to grow it. Yeah.
Wow.
But not doing the actual work.
A lot of hats. Gives you a pretty diversified view of what's going on.
Yeah, it does. It's been fun.
What role that you had before that you don't have now do you miss?
Being outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hands-on.
Hands-on.
Getting dirty. Sleeping in a tent.
Yeah, that.
Getting sweaty. Freezing your tail off.
I mean, I kind of hated it and loved it at the same time because it was just. Let's just say our field guys have a real nice. I mean, they work their butts off. They absolutely earn every dollar we give them, 100%. But in the early days, we didn't have as many luxuries as they do now.
I remember we couldn't afford hotels on a lot of our first projects for the first really couple of years. We would only stay in one if we really had to. So we'd sleep in the back of the truck, or we'd sleep on our flatbed trailer that hauled the ATV.
That was actually pretty comfortable.
Or in a tent. And I remember our rations, our daily ration. So we'd make sandwiches for lunch or taco in a bag.
Taco in a bag is the best.
Maybe we'll include the recipe in the next episode. Taco in a bag. It's exactly what it sounds like. You make a taco
Spoiler
in
alert.
a bag. You crunch up tortillas, you throw them in, you mix it up, and you eat it. Great energy for underground mine exploring, good energy for staking. Those were lunches. Breakfast, instant oatmeal, and instant coffee. And then dinner, we got a can of chili each and 2 Budweiser beers. And we'd heat the chili up in the fire.
And if we were doing real good, we would buy the high quality chili of Stag chili and not the Nelly chili.
I think we almost always had Stag chili because it's the best.
And it's the same. I still can't eat it.
Yeah, I ate the Dynamite, the hot chili. I ate a lot of cans of that, and then you wash it down with a couple Budweisers, go to bed, wake up, start again. And we worked probably, I mean, it was really determined by daylight, but sometimes we worked into the night.
Yeah.
Usually nighttime's prep time, and it still is for our field guys.
Oh, absolutely.
They get back to the hotel or back to the tent or the trailer, and they pull out the maps, they prep the post, they get the NOLs ready, they plan out the next day of staking claims, sampling, whatever they're doing.
Our field crew is extremely efficient. We
did a lot of that.
It impresses me. Yeah.
But we'd work a lot of those days when we're staking, we'd work from sun up to sundown. And in the summer, I mean, it'd be 12, 14-hour days. Yeah.
It's a long day. Yep.
So, wrapping up today, I'd like to talk about looking ahead. What's next for the series? What are some things that you're excited to talk about in future episodes?
Okay, for some things I'm excited to talk about in future episodes, I would love to tell more of our stories of what we experienced in exploring the West. I mean, that time in our lives, we really saw a lot of interesting things that I think would really be fun to share and remember. Industry-wise, I think it would be fun to have a lot of conversations about where is the industry going? What should we be preparing for as we, our goal with Burgex is to be more on the forefront of exploration. I mean, we're in the grassroots, right? We're on the very beginning of any type of mine. We're like,
what's your word for the year?
Proactive.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to be more proactive and think about like what's ahead for mining. How can we help facilitate the mining industry? We're very much involved in a lot of mining associations. Pretty much any association that we feel like is in alignment with our values, that we are a part of that. We donate to that. We get involved in that. We talk about it either at the events or on social media, and we want to just help the mining industry clean up its past and create a better future, because it's not going anywhere.
Right.
And we need it. We all need it. And we need to have it in places that have the environmental standards that we want.
Right.
I mean, you can't have all of these nice things without, you need to, let's see, what do I want to say? We want all of these, the technology, but it should not come at the suffering of other people, right? And we're seeing a lot of that even today, and that's a topic that I would like to cover in more detail. We are living in the United States. We're living in the modern times of mining, right? We're very much advanced,
right.
And you'll see that in Australia, you'll see that in Canada, and a lot of these other first world countries, but a lot of materials that we rely on a daily basis, they don't have that same standard of mining. And that's a conversation that we really need to have here in the United States, so people understand, like, hey, you have this nice cell phone. That did come at the expense of child labor. And are you okay with that?
Child labor, corruption,
slavery.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Yep.
It's bad, and it's a topic we need to talk about.
Right, and some of the trade-offs and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very uncomfortable thing to talk about, but it needs to be. We need to bring the awareness.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting topic. NIMBY, not in my backyard.
This falls in line with that too.
Yeah, I came up with a pretty interesting theory and kind of way of conceptualizing it that I'd like to talk about. And then also on a lighter note, some of our funny stories. I think every episode should have a funny story.
Yeah.
And we should work in some of our funny stories, whether they be crazy abandoned mine things that happen, or from the Mojave Underground days and some of the crazy characters we met there. And then just some eccentric and weird clients we've had over the years.
We've had some eccentric clients over the years, indeed.
And then I'd like to kind of dive into our relationship and the dynamics and how it's changed, because I think one of the interesting elements about the show is like, okay, not another mining podcast, right? There's a bunch of them. Really not as many mining podcasts as like AI podcasts or fitness podcasts or whatever. But I think the fact that we're exes and we work together and we've navigated owning businesses together and branching off, and me starting my own family and and navigating even just, having pets together and things like that, and how we've made all that work and been able to support each other in so many different roles over the years. I think that's really interesting. And that's something that I'd like to explore in the series. And I think there's a lot of things we can talk about, a lot of fun stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think this is a great idea.
Looking forward to the show. And thank you for watching our first episode. And I would invite you to like and subscribe, as always, and follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on YouTube, and tune in for the next episode. I think it'll be a little more polished. Maybe Pepper Dog won't be as running around trying to get us to play toys. I don't know if you can see that with the camera angles, but Pepper, our little field dog, has been begging Crystal to play and literally piling up toys at her feet, which is adorable. So maybe we'll more actively feature Pepper next time instead of just having her interrupt. But thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.